Hello and welcome to the Nilon Report. My name is John Nilon and I'm the Alumni Trustee to the Board of Trustees for the California State University System. And the Nilon Report is intended to provide you, our audience, fellow alum and friends of the CSU system, with a recap of the Board of Trustees meeting held on July 18th and 19th of 2017. And we have some important elements that we'd like to share with you. The first is the budget, which is part of a legislative update. We're going to talk a little bit about the graduation initiative, and then we get to do something that I really like doing, and that is to interview a guest. And our guest this show will be Manolo Morales, who is the California State University Alumni Council president. So let's jump right into it. We talk a little bit about legislative updates because it was the Senate and the Assembly who passed the state's budget, which included our budget and was signed by the governor. And it actually included $162 million more for the CSU budget. Now, we requested about twice as much, but we did get $162 million. And there's $12.5 million of it for the graduation initiative that we'll talk a little bit about later, as well as an increase of $10 million from the May revise. Now, this increase in funding was in part an agreement with the CSU leaders who would look for solutions to find space for all qualified applicants in the system. So now let's recap a little bit about the graduation initiative. And as I mentioned, the state legislature and the governor gave us about $12.5 million more. And the fact that we have a tuition increase will fund it by another $75 million. So this is a large expenditure by the CSU system, and its intent is to increase degree completion rates, eliminate equity gaps, ensure student success to graduate on time, and of course, always intended to help meet the workforce needs of the state. So let's shift gears and talk a little bit about student engagement, although it is related very closely to the graduation initiative. Because the CSU continues to address student engagement and well-being as it has a direct impact on timely graduation. And as such, the Chancellor's Office hired Denise Beverly, who will now be the Director of Student Wellness and Basic Needs. In this position, she provides a statewide, system-wide management of student mental health and counseling services, as well as food and housing security programs. It's exciting. We welcome her on board because we know this will lead to greater student success. Also, we're going to hold a graduate initiative symposium, and this will be held on October 11th and 12th at the CSU Office of the Chancellor here in Long Beach. It's actually the second annual Graduation Initiative 2025 Symposium. It will have a great deal of exceptional speakers who will assist us in providing new information and new ways of doing business. And again, with the intent to work on the disparity in our graduation and retention rates among our underserved. And again, we'll focus on practices to close that achievement gap. Now we get to move to my special feature, which is an interview with Manolo Morales, who is our Alumni Council president. Now, this interview was taped earlier today, and so let's take a moment and watch Manolo now. Today on the show, we have Manolo Morales. Now, Manolo is a graduate from Humboldt State. He is a student leader, background in serving as a student leader, as well as now the Alumni Council president starting in July. Manolo's got a lot of experience, and it's going to be a great interview, so I'd like to take a moment and welcome you to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So the fun part of this show is to ask you to tell us about your made in the CSU story.
Well, I think like many CSU alumni, we come from very unique walks of life. And my story was I was born in Colombia, South America, was adopted when I was about 1 year old, and brought all the way to Eureka, California, the far reaches of Northern California. And I really didn't have much of an interest in going to college. Most of my friends didn't. My high school was a rural high school, very low college attendance rates. But my dad was very, very forceful that I ought to attend CSU Humboldt. He was a former graduate from CSU Humboldt, as well as is my mom, and it was their impression that it was something I really needed to do. In fact, they even forced me to live in the dorms.
Excellent. So what was your experience like?
Well, being the local kid that lived in the dorms, it was actually everything that I wanted, because I had met instantly, 1,000 people that weren't from my area.
Oh.
And I knew everything. I knew where to go. I knew all the spots to be. And Humboldt just really allowed me to flourish as an individual. One of the things that Humboldt is great about is their access to programs and opportunities for students. Almost everyone is involved in something.
And you were involved in the student leadership. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I started actually student government when I got on a bus to protest a fee increase back in 2002. Now we get full circle, and I'm here at the alumni council level, and I really feel like I understand a lot more. But what was really great about the student government experience is it allows students when they're young to practice and to have some mistakes and make some mistakes and learn how the world works. And so when you go into the working world, you're head and shoulders above everybody else.
So tell us a little bit about your working world.
So again, thanks to the CSU, I was able to take advantage of an executive fellowship program in the Capitol. I worked for Governor Schwarzenegger for about 4 years, and that program is run out of Sacramento State. Very competitive fellowship program. They also run fellowships in the Senate and the State Assembly. Again, without the CSU providing that entree into state government, I don't know how I would have necessarily figured out even how to get a career. It's that time when you just graduate and everybody says congratulations, and then you just are supposed to magically get a job. The CSU came through in a big way because the fellowship is that middle ground. It's a professional experience. It'll set you on your career path, but you still have an ability to kind of learn and be a student.
That's exceptional. And so where are you in your career now?
But just recently graduated law school, recently passed the bar. I work in Sacramento as a lobbyist for a large insurance company.
Excellent. And so you use that experience with Humboldt State, your student leadership experience, your professional experience, and now you are the Alumni Council President. Just started, as I mentioned earlier, in July. Can you tell us a little bit about what your thoughts are about being the president, and tell us a little bit about how the Graduation Initiative 2025, the Board of Trustees, the Chancellor's Office, and the Alumni Council, how that all integrates and fits together?
Yeah, well, first I'd say on my role, I'm filling some very large shoes from Dia Poole, who our previous president. And those of you who know Dia, she is the alumni ambassador advocate extraordinaire and ensures that the alumni voice is present in every CSU discussion. So thanks to Dia, I don't have a very hard job to do that. My job and my challenge is going to be really getting involved. The CSU issues are so complex, so in-depth, and they really take a consistent study to really understand and be contributing. What I hope for the Alumni Council is we're engaging with Dr. Blanchard with the Graduation 2025 initiative. We really feel that we can move the needle on two main issues, one of them being the basic needs that our students are struggling with now, basically food insecurity and housing insecurity, and also mentorship, because as alumni, we want to give back. And it's been a challenge a bit in the past to figure out where's the appropriate alumni role, but I'm very, very pleased with the Graduation 2025 structure. We are more integrated with the Board of Trustees and the executive staff in the Chancellor's Office more than ever before.
I agree. And I really like the Alumni Council's approach to the needs of the students and creating a toolkit so that every campus, every one of our 23 campuses, every one of the 8 satellite campuses can take advantage of the toolkit. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So when we went to develop a toolkit, our real primary mission was to ensure that the document was not a stale document that would sit on a shelf somewhere. So we took great pains to make it easy for campuses to pick some of the programs that they might want to try. All of these ideas are fantastic, but we realized that not every campus has the resources to implement them all on day one. But what we've done is kind of break it down as what the impact to the students are, what the costs are, what the long-term, short-term, or medium-term goals are, so we can really start to move the needle in these areas.
That's excellent. And I love the fact that any campus anywhere can at least go to some of the low-lying fruit and begin a program even if they don't have a lot of resources. So I really appreciate that approach. Now, you're very kind to Dia Poole, as you should be, but you too are an exceptional leader, and you too have a vision of where you'd like a special program with relationship to students and the Alumni Council to go. Can you tell us a little bit about that vision?
Yeah, well, one of the unique things that I have is that I was a CSSA president as well, and really not that long ago. It was 12 years ago that I was in undergrad at Humboldt State being a student. And so one of the things that I really would have benefited from as a CSSA president at that time would have been some mentorship from the Alumni Council, people who are more seasoned, people who have been through difficult votes, difficult issues when you have constituencies that aren't in agreement and you're kind of target. So my goal would be to institute some sort of mentoring program with the Alumni Council executives and the CSSA executives to the extent that they find that interesting and useful.
And I think they will, because we all recognize that the student leaders become alumni who then can become alumni leaders. Just follow the path that you led. Now, it's exciting to talk about where we're going. We know that there are a lot of viewers out there who may be interested in participating in the vision, the Graduation Initiative 2025, as well as your vision related to CSSA and alumni. What would you do to encourage them, and how could they communicate and get in touch?
Well, I think the best way to start out is getting involved with your local campus association. It's really the heart and soul of what we do. It's service to students, and this occurs on campuses, not necessarily in the chancellor's office. So that's a great place to start. I think the other thing is reaching out to the Alumni Council. Obviously, you have an open door. I would be willing to talk to anybody about these issues, especially if you want to get involved, because some of the issues that I'd had before I was in this role was I didn't really know where to go, just like we're talking about. And the campus is a great place to start, but there's also resources like myself that I would be more than happy to talk to any alumni that would be interested in getting involved.
Excellent. Manolo, thank you very much for being on the show. I look forward to your ongoing leadership and the success that the Alumni Council is going to have.
But thank you for having me.
What a great interview with Manolo. It's clear that he is an exceptional leader and a great representative of the CSU system, and I look forward to many good years with him on the Alumni Council. I'd also like to shift gears here now and talk a little bit about our Board of Trustee meeting again, because the Alumni Council also had a guest speaker, and that was Kevin Cruz from CSU Channel Islands, a 2008 graduate. He's now the VP and Senior Compliance Officer for Mitsubishi UFJ Financial Group, and he shared his CSU story with us, including where he met his wife, Lauren, who is also an 08 graduate. And of course, they're both now attorneys and passionate supporters of CSU systems, specifically Channel Islands. Now, our Alumni Council is meeting again, and it will be held at Channel Islands on August 25th and 26th, with the intention, again, to work on the graduation initiative and build the bridge between the alumni and the Chancellor's Office and the campuses, as well as focus on student career development. Again, we want to thank you for tuning in and watching our show. Our next Board of Trustees meeting is September 19th and 20th, and we'll see you then.